This is the Stromer ST1S, and S stands for sport, so it's a little bit sportier than the T, which stands for tour. You can see that this one has a rack, a little bit of a rise in the bars. Otherwise, very, very similar. That blue one, that's the sort of a limited edition ST1, and they've taken the best from like the Elite and the Ultimate and given you like a combo deal. This model here, the S, is a really fun bike. Like, it's a little bit less utilitarian because there's no rack right here, but you know, you've still got the great fenders, the integrated light, top light in the rear, LED, runs off the main battery pack. Same thing up here, Supernova. I love this thing. This is the e-bike version, like E3, and they rate it at like 160 lumens, so it's pretty nice. It's, you know, metal body, angled right here, so you can kind of shine that wherever you think it's most appropriate, hopefully not in anyone's face, because it is, you know, it's pretty bright. One of the things that I like to comment about with these lights is that they're independent, so you can press this button down here, get the lights going, whether the bike's really powered on or not, and that's neat. It's a little bit of an extra step. A lot of electric bikes I see, you know, you use the display panel to like turn the lights on and off, and some of them are just standalone. They have like batteries completely separate. This is a premium offering, okay, and it comes at a premium price, so it's like $47.90. You're getting up to that like $5K price point. That's a lot to spend for a bike, but this is a really performance-oriented electric bike. You get a higher top speed, about 28 miles per hour. It's considered a Class 3 speed pedelec. Really awesome battery, 36 volt, 14.5 amp hours, so you're at like a kilowatt, half a kilowatt hour right there. And they're including, for like a limited time, it's like a 36 volt, 11 amp hour, kind of last generation battery. They actually weigh very close. This one's like 6.4 pounds, and I think the smaller capacity battery is actually like 6.5, and it might just be using less energy dense cells inside. I believe they use Samsung cells. Warranty on this bike is 2 years for like all the electronics and basically comprehensive. I think they do rate the battery, like, you know, if you've used it just a ton and just drain the battery, nothing lasts forever, but they do some pro rating and stuff, and then the frame's like 3 years. So pretty awesome support that way. I guess, you know, another difference that comes up is color, right? We were looking over here at the T, and it comes in this like brown metallic color versus the Limited. It's like that baby blue metallic, and this green, just a lot sportier, really eye-catching. It doesn't come in any other color, so this is kind of what you get, but it does come in two different sizes, and I'm looking at what they call the 17. It's really about 16.5 inches, and then you boost up to like the 20-inch frame. That's what we're looking at over here. So you can see that top tube, there's the 20, top tube's a lot, you know, it's higher, and it's a little bit more parallel with the ground versus this one. It's a little bit more sloped. Might be a little bit easier to mount if you're someone who's shorter. You don't have that rack in the way either, so if you're swinging your leg around up over the top, it's not going to be a huge deal. I'm 5'9", and this feels a little bit small to me, so, you know, I see I've got the seat like raised way up high. This is a pretty cool saddle, actually. I think it's by Ergon, a little bit of an ergonomic styling with all the ST Stromer logos and everything going on. Same up here, Ergon grips, ergonomic, a little bit narrower than on the T, Model T over there, but they both have carbon fiber fork, lightens it up a little bit, and maybe vibration dampening because the rest of the frame is aluminum alloy. So it feels very solid, it's very sturdy, and in some ways that gives you a little bit of momentum for when you're going over cracks and stuff, bumps, because you'll notice there really isn't any suspension built in. You're relying on these larger tires. These are Schwalbe Big Ben 26 by 2.15, so they're a little bit fatter, and they've got this nice, I guess, hybrid tread, but you get a lot of traction. Just there's a good surface area, and then there's just that spongy feeling. I think it's 55 to 80 psi is what they recommend, and it's got Green Guard, which is great. Green Guard's kind of like a puncture protection solution that's proprietary for Schwalbe. You don't want to get a flat on these bikes because there's no quick release on the wheels, and you know, there's more to deal with back here because you've got a torque sensor and the cassette and everything. That's one of the, you know, drawbacks of having a hub motor driven electric bike versus like a mid-drive. It's like, there's more to deal with in the back, more complexity. You've already got the derailleur and the sprockets and everything, and now you've also got some wires and extra things going on for a motor. But one of the upsides is that it's not going to wear on your drivetrain quite the same way, right? Like, you can just go and the motor just zips. You can shift gears. It doesn't contribute to any mashing or anything, and I really like that. So there's definitely a spot for hub motors out there, in my opinion. And this is a heavy one. It's a TDCM, 250 to 500 watt peak output, 30 Newton meters. you know, I don't know if those specs mean anything to you, but it actually performs really, really well. It's one of the more powerful motors I've tested, and good, because 16 pounds is a heavy motor right here. And you can see the spokes are a little bit fatter. These are like 13 gauge versus 14 gauge up front. So the higher the number, the narrower. And that's good, a little bit of flex there and stuff. But both of the axles are through axles. So this is 12 millimeter back here, 15 millimeter up front, and they're kind of like custom. So again, no quick releases or anything, and it just keeps this thing cinched down. But I love that, and I mentioned this on the other review, they've got bottle cage bosses right here, yay. So even though you don't have a rack on the back of this bike, you could still carry a mini pump or maybe bring along, you know, bottle cage or a lock. The mini pump could come in handy if you did somehow get a flat. Maybe you've got slime in here, you could pump the tire up quickly. It's just nice to see, and that's really cool considering that the battery pack is actually built right into that down tube as well. I mean, this is very custom, this whole frame. You can see a lot of the wires are not quite internally routed, but they're run along the down tube and they're kept out of the way. This is purpose-built from the ground up to be an electric bike, and I love that. Performs better. So we stick the key in, turn it, and then, you know, it doesn't just like jump out at you. You actually have to press this little button over here, and it kind of just push it, and it pops this really cool little, whoa boy, this cool little like slide thing. There's the battery. There we go. It's a really unique solution. I'm kind of impressed. I've seen other batteries that just kind of go in there, you jam them in, but this thing with that slide is pretty cool. So as we were saying, it's like 36 volt, 14.5. If we compared any of the ST1 models, including the T and the S, to the ST2, with the ST2 you're getting an even torquier motor. It still peaks out at like 28 miles per hour for legal reasons, but it's just more powerful, and you're getting some really fancy display kind of interface touch points versus a little bit more standard, just an LCD computer thing there. Okay, while we're up here at the front of the bike, I want to mention that Stromer has offered a suspension fork. It's kind of basic. I think it's like a SR Sun Tour. It has lockout, but it's oil-based. It's not super light. This is 1 1/8, 1 1/2, so it's a tapered head tube. Again, just coming back to like solid. They really want this thing to hold up at those high speeds, and that's important. But I guess you also want to hold up. Like your body can kind of like take a beating over long distances, and I would estimate with this battery you could go like 25 to 50 miles depending on what level of assist you're in. There are 4 to choose from. So one of the things to keep in mind if you're not going to go for the suspension fork is maybe getting a seat post suspension. Right here we've got the body float. I think these are like $250, so it's not super cheap, but it just works wonders. I mean, it keeps the saddle a little bit straighter when you're going up and down, and there's just a little bit of I noticed a bit of a bounce, but it's meant to like dampen that vibration. You still feel it a little bit up here in the bars, but the tires help, and again, the ergonomic grips. It's just a trade-off for efficiency and that speed and handling. If there's too much slop and it's too soft, then higher speed can be kind of dangerous. Okay, so the battery is locked and loaded. Got it fully charged. Got an awesome bell up here as well. But to get this bike going, you just press this little power button at the base of the display, and it lights up and gives you some feedback about version numbers and stuff. And it's really just a plus and minus down here. And you can see it's fairly reachable from the right grip. I mean, it's not quite the button pad right here. It's doable, and it keeps everything, you know, I think this would be easier to replace. And you can even see they've got some really nice connectors here. It might swivel a little bit if you loosen it up. It's not removable or anything, so that's one of the areas where it's like, meh, it's not as nice as the ST2, but you're paying a lot less. So the button on the left, that was a power button. It also cycles through readouts. So right now we see speed, it's in kilometers per hour. We can go to average speed, distance, odometer, trip time, and then back to speed. But it actually shows now battery percentage down here versus our mode. So I like to keep it on mode because, you know, you want to know what kind of assistance you're getting. You can arrow up and down. If we go down, it'll take us all the way down to Recoup 2. So there are 2 levels of regen, and that's cool. You know, that's if you're coasting down a big hill, you can pull back some of that energy, convert it into electricity, and charge your battery a little bit. It's not like super efficient. I think they say it's like 10% efficiency, but it's gonna save your brake pads a little bit, and that's also activated by the brakes themselves. So these are pretty fancy. There's Tektro Dorado e-bike specific brake levers, and they do have a motor inhibitor built in that also activates regen. I love that. The rotors themselves are pretty nice, 180 millimeter. Again, Tektro Dorado. Hydraulic, so you don't have to kill yourself pulling on them. And they've got that little ball at the end, which is a requirement in Europe for speed pedelecs because they go faster. You want to really be able to hold on to this and not accidentally slip off or something. Same with the kickstand. It's kind of got like a spring, so it's an upgrade for sure. Nice slap guards down here. A lot of little extras. You know, there's just a ton to appreciate on these bikes. And even the pedals, I love. They're big. They've got great little like grips on them, so you're not going to slide off. They're black. They match everything. Okay, so we're back up here. We got Recoup, 2 levels of that, and then just nothing. Just like bicycle mode, where this acts like a cycle computer. And it works all right, but you know, the bike's like 62 pounds, so you're moving a lot of weight. That's why it's nice to have assist. So we go from eco to city to tour and then power. Power is the highest. It's going to drain the battery the quickest, but it's the most fun. Honestly, you get on this thing and it's zippy. And the motor's surprisingly quiet. You know, this is a gearless direct drive hub motor, 250 to 500 watt output. You know, those 30 Newton meters of torque. It performs. It's there for you when you pedal, and it uses this TMM4 torque sensor. So there's like this silver, kind of see it back there at the dropout. That's like a strain gauge, so it measures how hard you're pedaling. And I've noticed that there's a little bit of a delay. Like I'll be pedaling, and then when I stop pedaling and I'm not putting any pressure on that, the motor still goes for a second or so. And I think they did that on purpose so that you don't end up with like surging, which would be like every time you pedal. If it was instantaneous, it'd be like power, 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 no power, no power, 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 and it'd be like up and down. So yeah, I think they put a little delay on it, and then I'm fine with that. The drivetrain here is Shimano Deore XT. Pretty good components. 9 sprockets, 11 to 32 back there, and then this really cool Schlumpf drive system right there at the bottom bracket. That's really 2 gears, so you can shift between, I think it's like 32 teeth, and then it sort of like halves it, and you basically multiply those 9 sprockets and you get an 18-speed bike. So that's just really cool, all without adding even more complexity right here with a second derailleur and more weight and everything. This is just, it's just neat. Not only do you have the ability to change the gear up here, but you do it with your heel. You're kind of clicking like right here on this like shield on the outside of the cranks. That's another thing that really differentiates the S and the T models from the older just ST1. You just have one giant chain ring, no extra gears, just 9 speeds. Still decent. It keeps it simple and stuff, but that's pretty cool, especially for climbing and stuff. And actually being able to hit and maintain those higher top speeds, it's not a problem. Like my cadence felt natural and comfortable, so I love that. Just very unique. I haven't seen that on any other electric bikes, so it's kind of fun to call that out. Okay, so we're back to the display up here. We're kind of going through the different levels. We're talking about power level. I wanted to point out that you do have a little battery indicator over here as well, and that there are some adjustments that can be made on the Stromer bikes. And you do that by like holding the power button and the up button for a few seconds, and it takes you into like this code mode. And I don't know the codes by heart, but you can change from like miles per hour to kilometers per hour. And there's like a walk mode, sort of, that gets you up to 12 miles per hour by holding plus. There's a whole bunch of stuff. I'm gonna have that back at the site. And I think people have been talking about it in the forums a little bit, like, oh, how can I unlock this? Or what's the deal? It's cool. It's just neat that they enabled these features. And once you've entered a code by arrowing up or down and shifting through the numbers, I think you just hold the power button again for a couple seconds and it takes us back out. I didn't enter anything, so it says error. But yeah, very cool. Just, I feel like I'm covering most of what's offered with this bike. I touched on it being heavy, not being able to do quick release on the wheels. So, you can hang it off your car, but it's like, how can you reduce the weight easily? Taking that battery off is one way. And I should call out that you can charge that battery on or off the frame. See, there's a charging port right there. And the charger's pretty decent. I think it's like 2.4 pounds, so it's not the lightest weight charger, but it seems like it has an aluminum body and a fan built in. Like, it's a higher quality thing for sure. And the plug comes out, so you can make it a little bit more compact for transport. So this is the standard plug side. It's like a metal ring, plugs right in, no problem. If you want to charge the battery off the bike, you have to use this little dongle. So it's like a different power port. This would be an area where it'd be kind of nice if it used the same plug. But hey, at least you can charge the battery on or off the bike. It's much better than some of the bikes where you you don't have that option. So that's cool. I think it might be a good chance to just hop on this thing and show it off a little bit, get some different angles. Again, you might hear the motor a little bit, but it's very quiet, and the ST2 is even quieter. Being a gearless direct drive motor, it's just smooth. There's no moving parts inside. You get the regen, but there's that weight. There's that 16 pounds. That's a big reason why this is a 62-pound bike. Again, depending on what size you get. So just kind of keep that in mind, like how you're riding. And again, I love that for the limited time they're giving you the extra batteries so that you could go further. You could take the charger to work, you could take the extra battery. It's kind of up to you how you want to ride. Another quick call out before we get on, there's this little plate area, like mounting space. I think that's another European option where you can put a little license plate, because they require that for Speed Pedal X over there. But in the United States, you could just put like a bumper sticker or something awesome. Here we go. So we are in the highest level of assist. Check it out. Really get going. And I just left it in kilometers per hour. But even in this short distance of this parking lot, I've been able to hit the 28 pretty effectively, just getting right up there. The torque sensor's nice because it feels natural, like it's very responsive. If I'm pedaling lightly, it still activates in power mode, but it's gentle. Like if I'm in a crowd of people, I'm getting assist, but no one's getting run over. I don't feel like the bike's out of control. And I've got those brake motor level inhibitor things going on. So anytime I pull that, the motor just quits. I really like that. That's a neat option. And actually I should be pulling this one. Only the right lever has motor inhibitor. And when I pull that, you can see it says recoup. So I'm not even activating the brake pads at that point, but I'm still getting regen at the highest level. So I definitely like that. It's a well thought out system, but you do have to work a little bit harder and push to actually get power. And that's part of what makes it feel sporty, but it's also going to extend your range a little bit. So I'll do that now. Yeah, just zips, like real smooth, kind of like race car style. Show you that schlumph like middle gear thing I was talking about with the shields, like while we're riding. It's pretty cool. Well guys, I think that's about it. It's been neat and kind of like perplexing, I guess, at first, looking at all these different Stromer bikes. The Limited is cool if you're, up for that color. I think that they've refined their systems a lot with Stromer and kind of taken the best options. The motor on this and the T, the ST1T, it's the same. They call it like the Power 48, and that 48 stands for 48 kilometers per hour, which is like the equivalent to 28 miles per hour. So it was, at first I was like 48 volt, I thought it said 36 volt. So it's, again, a little bit confusing. There's tons of options out there. It might just come down to color for you. I like the fenders and the lights, and everything's kind of integrated, and you pay a little bit of a premium for that, but with the warranty and the performance that these offer, it could be a great commuting platform or just an urban bike just to zip around, and traffic totally respects you. You can accelerate right off the line with this, and it's thrilling. It's a lot of fun. So for the full write-up on this and some of the other Stromer electric bikes, I'll see you back at electricbikereview.com, and especially when you're riding fast, ride safe.